Aloha. Welcome to today's September 26, 2022 public hearing and regular board meeting of the Board of Water Supply. The public hearing will be held first, and then we'll proceed to our regular meeting. The Honolulu Board of Water Supply public hearing notice was published on Friday, September 16th in the Star Advertiser. The purpose of the public hearing is to allow public testimony on the amendment of the Capital Improvement Program budget. I'd like to go over some virtual meeting regulations required by law. Board members attending any board meeting remotely must be visible to the public to be considered present and meet quorum guidelines. Board members participating remotely must also disclose their location and anyone present at their location during roll call. The public is allowed to attend the Board of Water Supply board meetings here at our BWS Public Service Building, located at 630 South Baratania Street, Honolulu, Hawaii, via interactive conference technology. Masks are optional. I would like to take a moment now to take a roll call of the members. When I say your name, please acknowledge your presence and make the necessary disclosure. Vice Chair Kapuas-Pro.
I'm appearing remotely from my home office, and I'm alone in my office with the door closed.
Thank you. Board Member Max Soy is
Present.
here in our boardroom. Board Member Naalehu Erpin.
Hi, I'm in my office alone with the doors closed. Aloha.
Thank you. Board Member Jade Butai.
Present, I'm in my office alone and the door is closed.
And Board Member Don Sepchik.
Hi, Dawn Sefchek here, reporting remotely from my office, and I'm in the office alone.
All right, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Just a friendly reminder to mute your microphone when you're not speaking. If you encounter technical issues during today's meeting, please use the chat to send a direct message to our support team. Their names are listed in the message to all participants. To open the chat window, please click or tap on the text bubble icon toolbar. In the room with us today are Manager Ernest South, Board Secretary Joy Cruz Achu, and Manager Secretary Deanna Tyson. We also have members of our IT and support teams here with us today. Joining us by telephone conference or Zoom are Mr. Jeff Lau and Jessica Wong, both from the City and County Corporation Council Department. Okay, testimony was accepted here. Written testimony, video conference testimony, telephone testimony, and in-person testimony. The testimony that's available at this time is in-person testimony as well as telephone testimony. If you would like to call to give telephone testimony, it will be accepted during the meeting at 808-748-6040. Callers will be placed in a queue and brought to testify one at a time. If you wish to testify by telephone, please listen to the prompts during the meeting. And prior to the meeting, you may also register by emailing board@hbws.org. In-person testimony is also being accepted today. Those wishing to testify at today's meeting can email board@hbws.org. You can also register on site here at our public service building at 630 South Baratania Street, Honolulu, Hawaii. Testifiers will be brought into the boardroom or may choose to present their testimony via video conference technology in the lobby. All right, materials for today's meeting or the board packet as defined under HRS section 92-725 are accessible at www.hbws.org. www.boardofwatersupply.com/board meetings. This meeting is also viewable via live streaming on the BWS website, www.boardofwatersupply.com/live. Before we proceed with today's agenda, I would note for the record a few non-substantive changes that are needed for the August 22nd, 22 action item number 7. And that was the action item amending the Board of Water Supply Special Expendable Fund established via resolution number 585-1990, which accounts for customer deposits collected from the assessment of water system facilities charges and negotiated agreements. This was approved at our August 22nd, 2022 board meeting. May I please call on Ms. Raylin Nakabayashi, Executive Assistant in our Executive Support Office, to describe and explain the changes, excuse me.
Thank you, Board Chair. Thank you, members. If you give me 1 second, I'm going to share a markup of the resolution 949 2022. So there was, and I apologize for these errors, but there was a typo in the title. So that was changed. It used to say 555, but the correct number is 585. We added the acronym for the revised charter here in the first whereas paragraph because we referenced the revised charter again in the second to the last paragraph. This was changed from a whereas clause to a be it resolved paragraph pursuant to the charter, and that makes the concluding paragraph a be it finally resolved. So the word finally was inserted there. And those are the non-substantive changes that were made to 949 2022.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nakabayashi. Members, any questions? All right, hearing no questions, and I don't believe that this is an action item. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But if there are no further questions, let us proceed to today's agenda. All right, so the first item on our agenda today is a public hearing. And I'd like to introduce Manager and Chief Engineer Ernest Lau to give a brief overview of the proposed amendment to the fiscal year 2022-2023 Capital Improvement Program budget of the Board of Water Supply that will be presented today.
Thank you, Chair. We wanted to make some proposed changes to the Capital Improvement Program for fiscal year 2023, which ends on June 30th, 2023. So I'm going to ask Raylin Nakabayashi, head of our Executive Support Office, who helps to put together the operating budget and the CIP budget, to provide a short presentation on the proposed amendment to the CIP budget. Right?
Thank you, Manager. Thank you, Board. Let me bring up my PowerPoint. Okay, so as Manager indicated, this is the amendment to our fiscal year 22 to 23 CIP program budget of the Board of Water Supply. Okay, so overall, by fund type, this amendment is going to reduce the operating fund appropriation. I'm sorry, I should take one step back. As adopted in May, the CIP program was $181,109,325. The amendment the board has before it today for consideration is for a CIP of $184,076,325. By fund type, the amendment will reduce the operating fund appropriation by $6.5 million, increase the special expendable fund appropriation by that same amount, and increase the appropriation in our improvement fund or bond funded appropriation by $2.967 million. By project category, there's no change in the research and development project category. That remains the same at $19.99 million. Renewal and replacement is where you'll see an increase of $2.58 million. And the construction cost index, which as the board may know is a reflection of, it's a percentage calculation based on the construction projects proposed in any year. So that number is a derivative of what we put in for construction, for a total change of an increase of $2.967 million. So the projects that are being added to the fiscal year 22-23 budget are as listed here. There are 5 water line projects being added to renewal and replacement, all of which are construction phase projects, and they will be funded with bonds or our improvement fund for a total of $33.5 million. We are deferring these projects also in renewal and replacement for a total of $30.92 million. And as you all know, we had a pretty successful sale of our bonds last year, and we were able to lock in a pretty good interest rate of true interest cost of just over 3%. At the end of fiscal year 2022, we had approximately $49 million worth of improvement fund monies that were not encumbered or expended. The FY23 proposed CIP that you see before you has about $69 million worth of improvement funds needed, which means we'll probably only need to do a net issuance of $20 million this upcoming year, not accounting for anything that we choose to refund or other financing, but just for the new projects, we'd need about $20 million. And as we're all aware, interest rates are on the increase. So this is actually an opportune time to kind of reuse some of the bonds we sold last year at that lower interest rate. So as I mentioned, the construction cost index fund, it is a function, or it's a percentage of how much we budget for construction projects in that fiscal year. So it's an increased amount of renewal and replacement construction projects. There will be a slight increase in the construction cost index account. And we are also making a modification to the funding sources in the contract adjustment account. So we're going to reduce the total amount will stay $21.45 million. And the contract adjustment account, again, is for contracts that require modification or change orders in the current year, but they may be contracts from prior years. So we're just going to adjust the source of funding in the contract adjustments account to free up some operating funds and program some special expendable funds. This aligns with the contracts that we're looking at that need modification in the upcoming year. Part of the reason we are making those adjustments and tightening down like what we're spending in the contract adjustments account closer aligned with the projects that need the amendments is we're very closely watching the cost of electric power for our water distribution facilities. It's one of our larger cost items at the Board of Water Supply. And it's kind of condensed here, but this is about 3 years of data. And the green line on the screen is our actual kilowatt hour usage of electricity. So it's slightly trending downward, but the yellow line or yellow-orange line sort of at the bottom is how much we're paying in cost in dollars for electricity. And as you can see, that is actually trending upwards. So even though we are reducing the amount of electricity we use, the amount we pay every month is going up. And the red line is really the reason that yellow line is not responding to our decreased usage. So that red line represents the cost per, or the cents per kilowatt hour that we're being charged. And as you can see, that line is really steeply increasing. So even though we are making strides through our ESPC project and others to reduce our energy usage, the cost per kilowatt hour is just increasing far beyond our decreases. So at the top, you can just kind of see it is a large cost factor for us. About 10% of the operating budget is just electricity. So our 22 actual went over budget. We increased the 23 budget, but we're just watching as the year plays out to see how we'll do. This is just some information from Hawaiian Electric Company. They posted in their last second quarter report their increased, increased cost of the final delivered energy to their customers. And as you can see, they're trending upward as well. And this increase in revenue on their side, they point to an energy cost recovery rate, which is here directly related to their cost of fuel and purchased energy. And as you can see, their cost for fuel has increased drastically, which is passed on to all of their customers through the energy cost recovery clause. Just this past month, though, they said that their forecast, for how much this is going to impact their customers is a little better than originally forecasted. It's still too soon for us to see how this is playing out in actual dollars, which is one of the reasons we are trying to reserve some of our operating fund in the event that it is needed to cover this, non-discretionary costs of the electricity. So in summary, the budget started at $181,109,325. We are adding $33.5 million worth of waterline projects, deferring just under $31 million worth of waterline projects. That is causing a slight increase in our construction cost index account. And there's just a fund change in our contract adjustments account to remove some operating funds, try to reserve those if we need them on the actual operating side, and then increase the appropriation with special expendable funds for a total amended budget of $184,076,325. And that's everything I have. Be happy to answer any questions.
Members, any questions?
If I could just add to what Ray shared, the pipeline projects that we're deferring are going to be done in our future years. So they're not canceled, they're just delayed to another year in our upcoming capital improvement program budget. So we plan to do those projects, but we're going to take the projects that we're unable to award last year and proceed with them this year. So kind of moving things forward a little bit.
All right, well, perhaps we have some testimony. I do understand we have here someone who is pre-registered to testify on this matter.
Chair?
Sorry, that would be for Red Hill.
Okay. All right, well then, is there anyone on the telephone to testify for today's?
No, Chair, there are no callers on the line waiting to testify.
Okay, thank you. Let the record so reflect. Madam Secretary, do we have any written testimony on this item?
No, Chair, we do not have no written testimony on this item.
Okay, let the record so reflect. Mr. Maria, do we have any video conference testimony on this item?
No, Chair, we do not have testifiers waiting to provide testimony by video conference.
Thank you. Let the record so reflect. Okay, members, any questions then? All right, hearing none, may I entertain a motion to approve this matter?
So actually, Chair, would be to close the public hearing, I think.
To close the public hearing?
And the matter will be taken action in the regular meeting.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second, Mr. Chair.
Okay, moved and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the public hearing is now closed. We will now proceed with our regular agenda. It's usually my practice to start with the Red Hill item. And so I'd like to take it out of order today, as usual. And I do understand we do have a testifier that's waiting to testify on this item. Okay, so we're gonna take out of order item number 1 on our items for information. Manager Lau?
Thank you, Chair. That would be, I think, item number 1, or, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. This month, we have a short presentation on our research into water treatment for fuel contamination at our drinking water sources if it becomes necessary. Mr. Erwin Kawata, head of our water quality division, will provide the update presentation this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lau. Good afternoon, Chair and members. What I'd like to share with you today is our approach on a study to look at the removal of petroleum contamination from drinking water. As with any kind of treatment, there are many facets or many issues that need to be reviewed, but the success or feasibility of treatment is really focused around the chemical properties of what we're trying to remove and its compatibility to the treatment. So here, in terms of fuel contamination, there are a number of technical issues that we need to examine in great detail as we go through this particular study. First, it's the amount of contamination present. Here we have a situation that the amount of contamination can vary from very high concentrations to very low concentrations. And we kind of see this in the monitoring well data that the Navy is collecting from the groundwater. Also to the type of contaminants that's present. Fuel is really a mixture of many different kinds of chemicals. And all of these chemicals really are different and unique in its own right. So the technology has to be able to remove multiple of factors here. And so multiple techniques are going to be something that needs to be looked at. And then, of course, with any kind of treatment, as you have chemical interactions within that treatment or filtrations that's occurring, there is always the possibility of byproducts being formed as well as a waste product from the treatment process itself that needs to be managed. Finally, overall, the size and the scope of the treatment needs to be really considered because it can get to a point where the available space to put in the treatment can become a challenge. So in this particular case, really fuel is really a mixture of a wide range of carbon numbers from anywhere from 6 carbons all the way out to 40 carbons. And so within that mixture, you can have many different kinds of chemicals, such as TPH diesel or PAHs or polyaromatic hydrocarbons, cyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. And so you really are dealing with something that you have all of these happening and occurring at the same time. And so they can compete with one another. They can behave differently within the treatment with each other. So all of these facets need to be really looked at in this particular process. So having said that, this is not a situation where we have only one type of treatment technology that can be used to handle most of these chemicals, but it's really going to end up being a multitude or a combination of different kinds of techniques. Each has to be evaluated individually and in concert with each other to examine the feasibility and the removal of this wide range of concentration from very high amounts to very low amounts. And of course, what is the combination of these different treatments together working together to try to remove all the different kinds of chemicals within that's couldn't be present, and be able to handle times when the concentration or the amounts of contaminants can be very high in the water and times when it can be very low. So the work is continuing, and we certainly will provide the board more updates as the information and the results become available. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions that you may have.
Members, any questions?
Hi, this is Na'alahu. I have a couple of questions for Erwin, if we have the time.
Sure.
Please go ahead.
Hi, Erwin. Thanks so much for
Hello.
putting this together. You know, I'm just curious, like, so I understand that there are, you know, these multiple sets of processes that need to take place, but really what we're missing is the input side, right? Is the how much and where to be able to facilitate the next set of steps. And have you and Ernie put any thought into how it is that we might get a better picture of all of that? Is it well by well? Is it by region? Or what are we doing to track? Because it sounds to me like you're pretty certain that we're going to need some kind of treatment. But what are the next steps with respect to that?
Well, with respect to the project, number one, we are synthesizing the actual starting contaminated water, if you will, where we are going to be treating various amounts of fuel that has been exposed to that water and looking at the treatment process for removing all of those different amounts of fuel. So you can have very high amounts where you have free product floating, forming or floating within the water. And you can have situations where you have their very low concentrations close to Department of Health's environmental action limits. And we're going to be studying the treatment as these and how these concentrations fluctuate as we're passing the water through the treatment, because that can happen too. We've seen that in the monitoring well data. So we do have this a process where we're going to take a look at all these variables in this particular situation.
Then maybe my last question is, are there any other sites, either in the US or other venues that you can point to that have had something similar like this happen, to be able to look at what their modeling looked like and learn from some of the processes that they went through with TPH?
The literature has some case studies on this, but it's extremely limited in terms of especially the scope and the variety of type of chemicals that can be found. So certainly we are doing exhaustive research or look at all of the literature, taking a look at everything that's been done in the past and using that information. But some of what we're doing is actually going to be groundbreaking. It is going to be for the first time. Yeah,
and just again, thank you to you and your staff for working on this. Maybe this last part is just a comment rather than a question. More and more, it sounds to me that it is imperative that we understand what the input was, whether it was 5,000 gallons or 10,000 gallons or what it was. And it's also just so incredibly critical that we take this on. As we're not the regulator, we're the purveyor, but it's important that we have a firm understanding of what the water is doing in the aquifer at this time, because if we don't, then we're just going to struggle that much harder when it comes time to make these decisions about where we're putting millions of dollars of equipment down to make sure that we can provide safe and clean drinking water to the island of Oahu. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, Lehu. If I could add before a couple of speaks, it's also, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head too. The importance is kind of know what's happening to the aquifer, what's in it, how is it moving, what could possibly reach our wells at some point in time in the future. That'll kind of give us a better idea. I'd just like to remind everybody, this facility has been in operation since 1943 to the present. And during that time, based on documented reports from the Navy, it looks like there's been about 180,000 gallons or so of past fuel releases of various types. And this facility, we know, stored a variety of fuels over its 79, nearly 80-year history, including a heavier type of fuel oil that used to power ships, motor gasoline, aviation gas, diesel, jet fuel. And we also don't know what kind of additives they may have added to the fuels over time, over its 79, almost 80-year history. So it points toward the complexity of our challenge here. And more recently, last year, maybe 19 or 20,000 gallons of JP5 was released from the pipeline break, and then later from a AFFF drain line break. So it is a very challenging situation. And I will keep you folks surprised as we go along here on how our water treatment investigation and research proceeds. Thank you.
All right, Paul.
Thank you, Ernie and Erwin, and everyone that's contributed to this effort. I have, I guess, another follow-up question. My concern is that, given especially the information that Ernie has just shared, we're looking at a variety of fuels over an 80-year history, and I'm concerned in particular about some of the older fuels. I know there's been a lot of focus on the JP5 because those have been the more recent releases, but part of my concern is the older fuels that have been dripping into the aquifer from the Vadel zone. And so I was just, I guess, so that is my concern. And part of my question is, how do we plan for cleanup, given the complexity in that we're dealing with so many different kinds of fuels? Does that mean different? I mean, looking at the chart was a little overwhelming, right? Are these stacked options? Are these, different things for different wells? I'm just trying to better understand what we're looking at here.
In terms of the older fuels, something like polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons is an example of a chemical that's reflected in the more heavier, older legacy kinds of fuels, number one. The study itself is really being designed to handle a multitude of different scenarios, if you will. So we're going to have or look for treatment that can handle the light, the medium, the heavy distillates, the older, heavier fuels, and do the analysis such that we can measure each one of the different treatment technologies and how effective they are in removing that. And so we are, the water that we are synthesizing that's going to be used for this treatment is going to be designed to be able to really reflect just about every combination that we can think of in terms of the kind of contamination in there, and to include the heaviers as well as the middle distillates and the lighter ones.
Thank you. That's very helpful. And just thank you to everyone for all of your work on this. I think, the more we find out, the more concerned everyone is. So thank you for your work on everyone's behalf, and especially for our water future here.
Thank you.
Yeah, a couple also, if I could add on, so even the idea of how do we remediate or clean up the aquifer, to start off with, we need to understand how the aquifer has been impacted. And that really goes toward being able to investigate and characterize what has happened to the aquifer and is happening to the aquifer. And from there, determine what are the best, if there are remediation options, what are the best options for the different types of chemicals that we're trying to address that could be in the aquifer. So drilling of monitor wells is really a major priority, and I just want to thank the board for their support through the budgeting process to allow us to even go forward aggressively to try to drill more monitor wells there. We need to work closely with the Navy. They're putting in a lot of monitor wells, so that coordination, I think, is starting to happen. And I'm hopeful that we'll be able to better characterize what's happening out there for the good of our community and good of this resource. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any members, any further questions?
No, I just wanted to comment. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Just wanted to comment. Thank you, Erwin, for that presentation. And it's good to see that there's a multi-pronged approach being explored, as far as treatment goes, in addition to exploring new wells or new sources and stuff. Just curious, I know that we are also trying to work with Navy to get all the data they have from their monitoring wells. Are they also providing some information as far as their GAC treatment that they've been using for their sources? Are they providing some data to that, to assist in our exploration of treatment solutions for our sources? It'd be good just to share information, and if we need to chase that down with the Navy, that'd be good to have, I guess. Just more information on both sides would be helpful, I think.
We actually had our first technical discussion meeting with the Navy just last week, and that topic came up in terms of sharing some information about their activated carbon system, both the technical, the flow rates, and the media that's being used, and the results of the water going in and out of the activated carbon. But also, we also requested them our ability to collect our own water samples, both from the source itself and the activated carbon system, so that we can at least validate what we're seeing or what the Navy's seeing in their processes. So we're still kind of working on that, trying to make that arrangements. But in the meantime, we have made arrangements to give the Navy access to our monitoring wells so that they can collect their own samples from there and basically collect more information from our monitor wells.
So to add to that too, we've identified that there are 3 rear admirals that are very important to this effort as far as we can tell right now. More recently, Admiral John Wade, Rear Admiral John Wade, was appointed as the head of the Joint Task Force, JTF, which is focused, I think, solely on the defueling of the facility. There's still 104 million gallons of diesel and jet fuel stored over our aquifer there. But we also have reached out and actually had meetings with Admiral Stephen Barnett. He's the head of Navy Region Hawaii. And then also, what was the other admiral's name?
Killian.
Yeah.
Killian.
Rear Admiral Killian, also NAVFAC Pacific. So it appears to us, and when meeting with them, those are the 3 gentlemen that we need to stay very close contact with to try to encourage this effort to move faster.
Thanks, Ernie. Appreciate
Okay. All right, anyone else? If not, we do have a testifier that's, I believe, in person. And I believe there was a written testimony that was also attached. I'd like to call upon Ms. Susan Cocola Davis at this time.
Aloha. I pass this to Ernie. This is the slideshow from the recent Commission on Water Resource Management, where Ryan and the PIG are proposing constraints for water, for the Navy's water request for new updated permits. And then, because I only know how to talk a lot of times just by using a picture, I brought hard copies of the last page.
Thank you.
And I have a series of questions that may not be answerable by you all, which is okay, because I'll just say, you can lead me to wherever. The other part I did when I sent in my written testimony was I accidentally used Halava well instead of Waiava well, so I kind of pen and inked it there.
Okay.
So this is my simple version of a water distribution system from a public person that doesn't know all the intricate things. And I'll look at this first, because this is the only way I know how to understand. If this is the Waiava well, pretend that's that, and then the water gets to a reservoir or watershed or water tower, because I don't know the right word for it, And then from there, it gets distributed through the water lines towards the homes. Do I have a good, simple view of that?
Yeah, I think that's, those are the basic elements.
Okay, so
Okay. Water.
you don't know
reservoir.
how long it took me to research this just to make sure that I sounded like I knew what I was talking about. So after the Waiava well sends water to the Navy, and I'm going to say that reservoir, because I don't think that the pipelines from Waiava go straight to the homes. They get into something and then it's fed through the lines to get to the homes or the churches or the restaurants. Am I correct? That happens?
Sometimes it's also through the distribution system, through the pipes
Okay,
that serve customers, but I'm not completely familiar with the Navy's water system.
that's okay.
That's pretty.
So we
pretty
don't,
Close.
okay, so Waiava well sends water to some pipes. Those pipes aren't the same pipes that the Navy was using when everything was contaminated, or are they?
I don't know, but it's,
Okay.
I think it's the same water system that was there
Okay,
last year.
okay, so the answer is probably yes, but not sure. So does any of that water go into a holding reservoir to be used as needed? And is it one of the, I guess I have to say, am I gonna assume that this thing here is the Navy? You don't have a Board of Water Supply reservoir that your water goes through to the Navy?
No, we're separate from their system. We do have some emergency connections
Right,
to their system that are normally closed.
okay, maybe you all are following where I'm going with this. The reservoirs, the Navy reservoirs that were operational prior to the leak. Okay, so I'm going to assume you don't have to say anything that reservoir, that yellow reservoir that I just showed you, and anything here, minus you guys sending water out of the Waiava well, is still utilizing Navy infrastructure.
Yeah,
Maybe.
actually, the Waiava well or Waiava shaft is a Navy source and not a Board of Water Supply source. So it's supplying so the Navy.
I'm listening because I always thought that the Board of Water Supply had that well. So you cut off the Aiea Halava.
Yeah, this one is actually well, they have 3 water sources, which I think was shared at the commission. They have 3 wells, Red Hill Shaft, their Aiea Halava Shaft, and their Waiava Shaft. And Waiava Shaft is located in the Pearl City area, Pearl City industrial area.
Is that the one though that's active right now?
That's of the 3, that's the only one that is supplying the basic water.
So Board of Water Supply isn't putting water into that well.
No.
And basically Board of Water Supply isn't supplying any water for the Navy housing?
At this time, the answer is no. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No.
The reason why we're going here today is because there's a lot of confusion. I'm sorry I interrupted you, but I just wanted to say why I'm bringing this stuff up. Families are still getting sick. New people have moved into the old housing and they're still getting sick. And I'm trying to figure out, in my mind, they were getting bored of our water. Okay, okay. So, okay, boy, so Waiava was never flushed either?
Or
is that, no?
That's a Navy source that I guess wasn't impacted by the leaks out of Red Hill, but Susan, I'd be glad to sit down with you later.
Again,
Yeah.
I know, I'm sorry. Well, really, I'm not, because I did get my answers, and I think that as I pursue my little investigation into why these people are still getting sick, I think my answers came today. I don't want to waste your time ever. And I would respectfully request that when I testify and I'm downstairs and you all have a presentation, if I'm sitting over there, I can't hear it, so I can't comment on the presentation that you all did. So maybe I could sit down there and watch it and then be pulled up.
Yeah, we can do that next.
Thank you, Erwin.
We can give you a.
Great job.
We can give you a copy of the presentation too.
Okay, oh, I have that already.
But Susan, next time, we can ask you to maybe take a seat in the room when this item comes.
Oh, that's fine, whichever, because it was a very good conversation from what I could hear. And that's it. Thank you.
Nice to
Thanks,
see you.
Aloha.
I'll see you next month.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, does anyone have any other testifiers today? Sorry, Ray, did you have I'm sorry, Max, did you have a question?
Oh, no, if after, no more testifiers.
Okay.
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions.
Not my end. There's no phone call.
Okay, let the record reflect that we do not have any written testimony, any further written testimony. I do want to reflect for the record, Ms. Pocola Davis did hand us a total of 9 pages during her presentation, which I will submit for the record. And I'd like to note that we do not have any further written testimony. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but we do not have any video conference testifiers who are waiting. We do not have any telephone testifiers who are waiting. And we don't have anyone in person who are waiting. Okay, well, then we can move on then to board members. Do you have any further questions?
I just have a couple for Erwin, on the proposal for the treatment facility, yeah. I'm assuming that location would be close to the area of contamination, which would be Red Hill area, Alava Valley area. So if that's the case, my question is, looking at the pictures, looks like it's quite a large facilities, and my question would be, do we have the space for that if we have to go that route?
For one of the locations, our Halava Shaft pumping station, we may have some space, but for other wells that we do not. The treatment study is being designed to handle treatment and any board of water supply pumping station that's affected by contamination. What's going to be really something that needs to be determined is the magnitude of the treatment. If it's something that requires 5 or 6 different steps, then for many of our facilities, it doesn't have the space to be able to accommodate that.
Okay, and I just want to, as we move along, and if we do have to go this route, just want to make sure that we do have the space for that. And,
Yeah, that will be one big constraint. And around our Aiea and Halava wells, there are homes.
yeah.
People living around that area. So it'll limit, constrain where we can put a treatment system if we feasibly can treat the water and we have the space requirements to install the treatment system.
I guess we'll cross that bridge when we do it there. So
this is kind of a progressive discovery.
Yeah. Well, it's good to plan. I mean, yeah, the contaminants, the fuel don't go anywhere. They stay where they are. So, but anyway, thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, hearing none, I am going to go back to the regular agenda, item number 1 on the regular agenda. This is for the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held on August 26, 2022. I believe the minutes have been circulated. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Mr. Chair. This is Naalehu.
Thank you. Any second?
Second.
I second.
Oh,
Great.
thank you, member Soon. Is there any discussion? Amendments, corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Yeah, I wasn't here, so that's same,
Aye.
Mr. Chair.
I,
Okay. Okay, I will note one abstention.
Was that the 22nd or 26th?
26,
August 22nd?
August 26th.
Oh,
Chair was August 22nd.
Oh, sorry, it was the 22nd.
yeah, I wasn't here, so I will abstain, Mr. Chair.
Okay, one abstention, any opposed? All right, let the record reflect, we have, unanimous approval with one abstention. Member Sword. All right, moving on to the next item. This is for the adoption of resolution number 950/2022, amending the 2022-2023 capital improvement program budget and appropriating funds therefore, and revision of the 2022 to 2023 CIP budget amendment number 1. If you might recall, this is the public hearing that we started out with today. May I have a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second, Chair.
Okay, I think that's member Sepchak. Is there any further discussion?
I apologize, Mr. Chair, for being late. I had to switch planes in order to get here, even on at the time that I did. I'm sorry for that. So if my question is already been answered, just let me know that. As I recall, these projects could not be, we ran out of time for encumbering the funds.
Yes.
And so we're pushing those projects into this fiscal year. And we're going to be proceeding with the normal procurement and the encumbrance of funds. What I don't understand is why we need to push these other projects to out years. If what it was a matter of running out of time for these projects, this first set of projects, I understood that made sense. That happens. But why do we need to push these other projects to out years?
Well, one of the reasons, I'll let Ray explain the other reason, but one of the reasons is we have a tremendous amount of vacancies in our capital projects division. So to be able to handle last year's pipeline projects and this year's pipeline projects, I don't think we have enough capacity to do that. Even with using, consultants, CM services, and project management services, it is just going to be, I think, a little bit too much. We've been successful in hiring a lot of CE1s, junior engineers right out of college, but they need some time to get trained. And if our more seasoned licensed engineers are busy with a tremendous amount of projects, they don't really have any time also to spend time with the junior engineers and train them and get them up to speed. So capacity constraints is one of the issues. The other issue, and I'm going to ask Ray to kind of summarize that, what we're seeing is the impacts of inflation on our operating budgets. Oh, Ray, go ahead.
So, well, yes, we did add these 5 and are deferring an equivalent amount of project or equivalent-ish amount of projects in dollars for the staff capacity. And then also it's actually, if you could scroll down a little, I don't think it's in the letter, but this is actually, we're facing higher interest rates on leveraging debt at this point. So we're making use of some of the debt that we've already issued last year, rather than go out for all new debt for this year. we'll just borrow the amount we need over last year. And part of the amendment was also a shifting of operating funds to reduce the operating appropriation and increase the appropriation using special expendable funds. But all of this goes towards us, yes, watching our operating bottom line, watching not only the dollar bottom line, but what our staff can handle, as well as getting these all permitted, getting approvals through the multiple regulatory agencies that required them to review and approve. There's already delays in that area. So this would just compound getting more projects through the regulatory review process. So this workload and the size of the CIP is comfortable for staff and then comfortable financially, so that we don't have to issue new debt right now when interest rates aren't looking as good as they were last year. So it, I guess, makes sense to us on multiple fronts to just pursue $184 million CIP rather than grow it to like well over 200 million with having to debt finance more.
The other thing, Ray, too, is that I forgot to mention is that we have created projects that are Red Hill related to new monitor wells, new exploratory well projects. So that's also where some of the effort for the staff to put high priority on the Red Hill projects to get them out. So these pipeline projects will be done. We're just going to adjust the timeline for these pipeline projects that are deferred.
Do you expect that those that are deferred now will show up in the following fiscal year, or are we possibly talking beyond that?
No, we're not sure at this time. We're going to try to get them into the following fiscal year, but we're also dealing with high inflation on the operating budget side too. So a combination of high inflation, the more expensive debt with the Fed increasing the treasury rates, that increases how much we have to pay to borrow money through settling revenue bonds. So, but then there's still a debt service for us to cover. So we're right now in the midst of doing the rate study to determine and project what our 5-year projection for revenue requirements on the operating and capital side, CIP, and what we can afford and what we would like to propose in terms of our rate increases to our customers. We don't like the idea we have to increase rates, but it's necessary to continue to invest in the infrastructure. But how do we do that right now in this current economic climate and still try to be affordable to our customers, because water is essential for life. So those are all, Board Member Soon, those are all the things we are trying to now balance in our calculations of what we can handle, what we can afford to do, where costs are going in the future. Construction costs are also increasing like everything else too. So it's a real challenge right now.
I also want to chime in on this one because I have the same concerns as Ray does. And I think Ernie and I think the department has an ongoing partnership and meeting with different members of the construction industry, different organizations in the industry to help navigate this issue. I mean, I don't think that there's any magic solution, but I think to the extent that the board can work together with our contractors, our partners, or perhaps even suppliers, hopefully we can get through this. But I do understand the challenges, and hopefully we can kind of get through them.
And yes, Chair, and layer on top of that, this uncertainty of what the future issues and costs related to dealing with the Red Hill fuel contamination issue creates a lot of uncertainty right now. That we know there are still chapters to be written in that story ahead of us.
if I may, Chair.
Absolutely.
I think we all, I can hear the frustration in your voice, Ernie, and I appreciate that. I think we all are equally, we just, and I know this goes without saying, but I'm gonna say it anyway, we just cannot let Red Hill get in the way of the rest of our, that, the implementation of the work that we've been planning on for years and years.
And
now.
board members soon, I'm not letting you get in the way. But I also demand a lot of my employees, my staff, and there is a point where, they're juggling $300-400 million in active, projects, so with a tremendous vacancy rate right now.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Mr. Chair, if I could just add a couple of things. This is not Alejo.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is some great fancy footwork that we have here in engaging the kind of projects that are ready to go. And I want to thank staff for being so diligent in this. I think the point that Ray made on the cost for dollars in the future is something that is going to come up again and again. Doesn't sound like the Fed is going to move in a downward trend for a long time. And when we had, close to free money, 3% is a great rate for these bonds. We had close to free money, we could go and borrow a lot of it to do this. And I think this is going to really stir the discussion with respect to not only how much it costs to borrow money, but what are we borrowing money for? If we're having to find new sources of water and drill monitoring wells and do other things that are Red Hill adjacent, not only does that take up staff time, but that also means that we have these huge costs that would not have otherwise been incurred. And so with that, I would say too that, we've talked about this before, Mr. Chair, in these meetings, but, to the extent possible, we do need some help with federal relief to be able to manage some of these costs, whether it's the 22 miles of pipe we're supposed to, be replacing every year, or to expand out water services due to the shutdown of the Halava well set. So just a comment for what is to come with this discussion. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? If not, I believe we have a motion and it's been seconded. I am going to then, if there's nothing further, I'm going to call for the question. Madam Secretary, roll call vote, please, on item number 2, requiring board action.
Thank you, Chair. Vice Chair Proposed,
Aye.
Board Member Ray Sue,
Aye.
Board Member Matt Sword,
Aye.
Board Member Naled Anthony,
Aye.
Board Member Jay Butai,
Aye.
Board Member Don Sepchek,
Aye.
and Chair Brian Dye.
Aye.
Chair, motion passes with 7 ayes.
All right, thank you. Moving on to the next action. This one is it's close to home. Adoption of resolution number 951/2022. This is for the resolution of appreciation for Deputy Manager and Chief Engineer Ellen Kitamura. Please say it ain't so.
It's so.
Manjula?
Thank you, Chair. I'm just gonna read the resolution really quickly here, and Ellen is in the room. So everyone out in the virtual world right now, this is our Deputy Ellen Kitamura. And whereas Professional Engineer Ellen Kitamura was appointed by the Board of Water Supply as a Deputy Manager and Chief Engineer in March of 2012 to oversee the agency's internal operations focusing on those divisions that provide water from source to tap to ensure the sustainability of Oahu's water resources and infrastructure. And she has recently notified the board of her retirement. Whereas Ellen joined the department of BWS in 1982 as a civil engineer one. So Ellen came in as one of those junior engineers right out of college. She rose through the ranks by way of various engineering positions, where she worked on matters such as water master planning, hydraulic analysis, water availability requests, and plans review, and as well as manage the development and growth of HONU, HONU, Honolulu Online Utilities, the department's award-winning geographic information system enterprise web-based application, which I just say that we are heavily dependent on the application all the way into field operations, and they really use that tool on a daily basis. Whereas in her capacity as deputy manager and chief engineers, Ellen Kitamura's skills, experience, and knowledge of BWS matters have greatly benefited this agency as she has successfully overseen its day-to-day operations, staunchly defending its semi-autonomous governance model, championed initiatives that improve and track efficiency and overall departmental operations, and help carry out business and management related policy decisions made by this board that will impact the Board of Water Supply's direction and operations for many years to come. Whereas Ellen Kitamura's accomplishments, professionalism, integrity, quiet strength, and compassionate leadership have earned the respect and admiration of the members of this board, department employees, her colleagues, and the community, resulting in additional recognition and honor for the board. Whereas Ellen Kitamura's 40-year BWS career, including 10-year tenure as a deputy manager, is a testament to her commitment to maintain a municipal water system that is safe, dependable, and affordable, as well as worthy of trust from the public it serves. Now therefore be it resolved, the members of the Board of Water Supply, City and County of Honolulu, that we do hereby express to Ellen E. Kitamura our deep appreciation and gratitude for her dedicated service to and leadership of this department. And be it further resolved that the members of this board extend to Ellen E. Kitamura our sincere aloha and best wishes for continued success in all her future endeavors. And Chair, I'd like to, I do this in employee recognition award ceremonies, but if I could allow Ellen to say a few words, if she would like to say a few words.
My goodness, Ernest, I knew you would do that. So yes, I'm ready to retire after 40 years. It's been an honor working at the Board of Water Supply. And I said I wasn't going to cry, but it looks like I am. But it has been it's been a good 40 years. And I'm really fortunate to have stayed here for that long and to work with such a wonderful board. I know you have the well-being of the department at your heart, and I'm knowing that I'm leaving it in very, very good hands. And I really appreciate all that you've done for the board and allowed me to do for the board. So thank you very much. But I am ready for retirement. I am looking forward to it. I have a young pup, Brittany Spaniel, that I'm training, and one day, hopefully bring him into some agility so, he can run free and be a dog that he wanted to, and a lot of other things that I need to do at the home. Looking to make it sustainable, no chickens, but a lot of fruits and vegetables. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you, Ellen.
Chair, I just want to say that, Ellen and and she stood right beside me and supported us even through some of the most challenging times. implementing a new billing system and going through the problems that occurred and fending off how many charter amendments, Ellen?
At least 3 that I remember.
3 major charter amendments that would have basically taken away a lot of the board's authority, control of its finances, the ability to make its own decisions and adopt long-term plans for the good of the board of our community for its drinking water. So Ellen, thank you so much and for bearing with me all these 10 years.
Well, after Friday,
you're free of me.
I'll just read about you in the paper.
Oh, hopefully not. But thank you, Ellen.
Thank you, Ernest.
So if the issue of autonomy comes up again, can we pick your brain?
Oh, I'll be right there.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, members, that's
I move its
official.
adoption. I second.
Moved and seconded, to adopt, resolution number 951/2022, in appreciation of Deputy Manager, and Deputy Chief Engineer Ellen Kitamura. All those in favor say aye.
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 Believe that's a unanimous, ayes. Any nays? Okay, well, thank you very much, everybody. The resolution is official. Ellen, from my position on behalf of the board, I just really want to thank you and echo the words of Ernie, and thank you for all you've done, for the department, for the board, and for City and County of Honolulu. I was right there, or you were right there with me, or we were together with those charter amendments, and it really showed me the soul, heart and soul of this department, and it's been inspiration for me ever since. I hope that the rest of the staff, especially our new engineers, new staff, I hope you'll be inspired by Ellen's journey as well in her career here at the board, that you really can make a difference. You really can improve, lives here in the city. So thank you very much. We'll miss you very much, and we wish you the very best.
Thank you.
Chair, may I also say a word?
Absolutely.
Aloha, Ellen. I'm so sorry that I'm not there to give you a hug in person. But I just want to say what a privilege it's been to work with you over all these years. I've learned so much from you and have always enjoyed the awesome snacks that you have in your office, which is not why I used to stop by. But you leave incredibly large rubber slippers to be filled. And I just wanted to say mahalo piha, not just for your service, but always for your aloha. I think as everyone has already mentioned. And I wish you the best in this incredibly well-deserved retirement, but we will miss you. And so I won't say goodbye, just a hui ho. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Maybe take it this one, to get a better angle here. Right. One of them better come up.
Okay, Ellen.
That's right.
Okay, you take care.
I'll be around.
Okay, well, okay, very good, very good.
Okay, everybody, that was a tough one. Moving on to the next item here, adoption of resolution number 952/2022. This is the acceptance of a gift to the Board of Water Supply from the Hawaii Community Foundation to attend the United States Water Alliance Water Summit 2022 conference. Manager Rao?
Thank you, Chair. We recommend adoption of this resolution, 952/2022. It's through the generous gift of the Hawaii Community Foundation. And actually, you know, this conference was actually already held. The city and county of Honolulu was recognized for a national award at that conference. So Mr. Barry Usagawa attended the conference, the One Water Summit, which I believe was held in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Barry, would you like to share a brief summary of what happened at the conference and what was the award that our city received?
Thank you, Ernie. So the U.S. Water Alliance awarded the One Water Honolulu program its U.S. Water Prize for 2022 for Outstanding Public Sector Organization. A little bit about the U.S. Water Alliance is that it's the only national nonprofit organization with a diverse and unique membership base that represents a range of One Water champions, utilities, public officials, the business community, environmental organizations, community leaders, policy organizations, and researchers. Their mission is to drive One Water breakthroughs that positively transform our environment, economy, and society. Their approach is inclusive. They bring all stakeholders together to co-create and leverage solutions through a program of national dialogues, collaborative platforms for knowledge building and peer exchange, the development of forward-looking and inclusive water policies and programs, public education, and coalition building. And they're driving a national movement to ensure that clean, reliable fresh water is available for all and now and into the future. So it's One Water, One Future. The unique thing about One Water Honolulu, it is a collaborative of 8 city departments that is focused on climate adaptation through resilience. It is unique because we institutionalized collaboration through an ordinance back in the late 2020. And we did that to ensure continuity across administrations, changes, leadership changes and retirements. In particular, you know, when you live on an island, everyone is aware of the ocean that surrounds us. We play in it, it sustains us. But we all see it rising and we need to do something about it. And because streets and coastal areas are multi-jurisdictional, the only way that we'll adapt to climate change and sea level rise impacts is to work together. As part of the summit, there was a commitment to action on behalf of the Freshwater Council and One Water Honolulu. Mr. Kyle Dort, who is the chair of the Freshwater Council, affirmed our commitment to do our part to advance actions to secure the waters of our island home on behalf of generations of ancestors past and generations of descendants to come. We are committed to increasing our water security by an additional 100 million gallons per day statewide of reliable fresh water by 2030, bringing federal funding and leverage public-private partnerships and resources to local projects and communities. And to be successful, we needed to collectively take fearless actions across multiple agencies, sectors, and communities, as our water resources are always top of mind. We also close with Malama, is a word for taking care. And so Malama, your elders, your children, one another, and Malama, the water that brings life and connects us all. This is the One Water Prize. I'd like to thank U.S. Water Alliance for recognizing One Water Honolulu as an outstanding public organization for 2022 and One Water, One Future. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Members, any questions? If not, Barry, thank you for the report. May I have a motion to approve and accept this resolution, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve resolution number 952/2022. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Okay, motion passes. Resolution number 952/2022 is adopted. Next is for the adoption of resolution number 953/2022. This is for the acceptance of another gift from the Hawaii Community Foundation to attend the Freshwater Council retreat. Manager Lau?
Yes, thank you. This is, again, at the generous support of the Hawaii Community Foundation. It was actually the organization that created the Freshwater Council, I think, back in 2016. And both Barry Usagawa and myself have been members on that council ever since then. But they're planning a retreat at the Turtle Bay for a couple of days, and this gift will cover very nice expenses to be there and participate in this important meeting of the Freshwater Council.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, moved. Is there a second? Second, thank you, Nalehu. Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. All right, resolution number 953/2022 is hereby adopted. All right, before we move on to item for information number 2, I just want to note, those of you who are in attendance here in the boardroom, I'm not sure if those of you who are attending remotely have a copy of this. This is the official printed version of our strategic plan for fiscal years 2023 to 2027. And I just want to, this is really a tribute to Deputy Manager Ellen Kitamura, who spearheaded this project. And I wish she was still here to thank her. She's probably listening. Thank you very much, Ellen, for this. This is this great quality work. As I look at this and look at all the work that's been put in and the thoughtfulness, I'm just really proud to be part of this agency.
Thank you, Chair.
freedom.
May I just, sorry, jumping in.
Go ahead, please.
But it was a team effort. I mean, you have to, Nathan and his group did a real great job putting everything together in this wonderful pamphlet. But it was everybody just working together. So maybe I was just there kind of like shepherding, but no, it was definitely a group effort. And thank you very much for the participation of the board members, yourself, Nalehu, Anthony, and Member Soon. Very good contributions. So I'd say that it is a department and a board effort to have this next 5-year strategic plan. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks again, Ellen.
Ellen's done a great job on this, and maybe when I have to do the update the next time around, I'll ask her if she want to volunteer.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
That was only kidding.
Can I get more copies?
We can give you as many copies of this as you want.
Okay, thank you.
And members participating remotely, I hope you will be mailed copies, or you can pick them up, maybe?
They can email it to email a request to us, and we can have it mailed to them. Yeah. I also want to point out this was done by the city print shop, so this is produced by the city actually.
All right, thank you. Let's move on then to item number 2 for information. This is fiscal year 2022 claims management summary. Let's see, Ms. Nakabayashi.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. Let's see if I can do this time. Okay, so thank you. So this is kind of similar to my last year's presentation, But according to the Water Research Foundation, of course, tort law holds that a person or entity to a defined and certain standard of care, when other persons or property are injured because of a failure to uphold that standard of care, the result is the person who failed is held liable. And when it comes to water utilities, whether we can be held liable for infrastructure failures is unique to each state or province where the utility is located, because the standard of care that a utility is held to changes from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. So for Hawaii, this is the civil jury instructions that are given to juries here in Hawaii. And this is kind of what we think through when we're processing claims against the Board of Water as well. So the plaintiffs must prove by a preponderance of evidence that the defendants were negligent and that such negligence was the legal cause of the plaintiff's injuries and or damages. They must also prove the nature and extent of their injuries or damages. So at the Board of Water Supply, we are mostly self-insured against liability and property claims. So to manage that under, in the Executive Support Office, I do have a risk management staff, a departmental risk manager, and I have one claims management specialist. And each year we budget, it ranges, but about $1 million. So we have $1 million budgeted this year to try to handle claims for personal injury or property damage that are presented against the board. This is from our general liability loss runs. So the claims presented against the board can vary in each year. I have from 2018 to 2020 on the screen. Also, how many we have closed, and of the total claims presented, how many were main break related, and how many remain open to date. And then the final column, of course, is how much has been paid to date. And I just wanted to highlight, these don't include like litigated matters where it just gets presented to us as a lawsuit. No informal or internal claims process precede that lawsuit. This is for our automobile accidents loss runs. So as you know, we operate a pretty large fleet of vehicles. So these are other claims that we're mostly self-insured for. And we just the number of claims presented from our fleet vehicles. And again, doesn't include litigated matters. So if the claimant or the insurance company goes straight to lawsuit, it doesn't go through my claims adjusters first. So just the total number of claims. We have some open still and how much we've paid. So I record claims when they are received or based on the data loss. So those prior two slides, when I record the fiscal year and the claims, it's when the incident happened or the data loss was, and their claims are recorded and numbered based on that. But when the claims actually get settled, paid, can vary. It can take anywhere from a few months to years to settle and close claims, or they may then turn into litigated matters if no settlement can be reached. So the amount expended, if you look at our expenditure history, can really vary. It goes up and down, with 2019 being a really expensive year. But last year we spent just over 1.1 million on claims, and that's pretty much it. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Members? I've got, so I'm looking at the general liability loss run as well as the auto loss run.
Mm-hmm.
So the amount paid is definitely looks really low, which is great, but there are a large number of open claims.
Yes.
Are we on track as far as disposing of these matters on, within, are we taking longer to dispose of them, or is it just normal?
No, this is about normal. The ones you see open from 2018, these are like claims that were then followed up with lawsuits. So right now we're just going through the the litigation process. So on my loss runs, I leave those claims open. For fiscal years 21 and 22, it's normal to have claims that are open now in 23. Claims adjusting is kind of or just claims handling is I don't know, it's like a sprint and stop, sprint and stop. You'll get presented with like, there'll be a main break and someone will tell you, I want to file a claim, but you may not get information or you may not get anything to work on for many months, sometimes years, as they work on presenting and proving their claims to the board. So it's the more simple claims, I guess, that can be resolved in a few months, we do. The more extensive ones. So fiscal year 22 also includes any kind of incident that happened all the way up until June 30th of that year. So at this point, we're still working a lot of those claims, collecting information and adjusting as appropriate.
Okay, thank you. So the numbers then, as far as what's paid up, those are definitely subject to move then as these claims are settled.
Yes, so these numbers will change. So like 21, we're not quite done with all the claims that we were presented in up to June 30th, 2021. So as we continue working on those, you will see it reflected in our expenditures because we pay them out once we settle them or close the files.
Okay. Do we have the number of claims outstanding for that slide, the property damages and claims for personal injuries?
That's all mixed in with our general liability claims.
I see. Okay, that's all I have. Anybody else? Okay, if not, thank you for the report.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 3 for information. This is the status update of groundwater levels at all index stations. Chair recognizes Mr. Barry Usagawa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would also, before I begin, I'd like to also mention that Kapua was a founding member of the Freshwater Council and helped put together the freshwater blueprint that set the 2030 goals. So thank you for that. For August, there are 4 index stations that were in low groundwater status. Kalunui and Wailua were in caution. Kamaki and Punaluu were in alert. The pumpage has increased in August because of the weather to 151 million gallons per day. The rainfall is low. For August, 35% of normal. And the 5-month moving average is dropped to 69%. The National Weather Service is forecasting enhanced probabilities for below normal precipitation through at least November, but they'll come up with their wet season forecast in October, and I hope to report on that at the next board meeting with a subsequent one. The monitor wells are decreasing because of the higher demand. If we could go into some of the charts there, Joy, if you could stop on Kaimaki, please. Kaimaki was one that it was decreasing at a significant rate, and this is because we don't have Halawa Shaft serving Honolulu, and so we had to pick it up at other wells. We are moving water from the Waipio system and the Pro City system in. So as these heads started dropping, we increased our monitoring frequency from monthly to weekly. And that this is also the case for our Punaluu index well, if you could go to that. But the rest of the, they're above low groundwater status. When you get into the Honolulu, the same thing was happening here. So we went to weekly monitoring, and water system operations was able to scale back and reverse that downward trend. So we're kind of, although it's in alert, we just don't want it to get too critical. So there's been adjustments made. Then if you could scroll down to the rainfall. And as I was reporting, very low rainfall in August. And when the 5-month moving average drops to 70% of normal, we start to see some signs in the index wells. And then scrolling down, you can see the water conservation messaging has been getting out in the early summer months, below the 5-year monthly average, and below last year. But in August, because of the hot, dry weather, it has reached the 5-year monthly average, but it hasn't exceeded it. And so we'll continue to monitor these indicators going forward. I will add that we had a preliminary meeting with the National Weather Service, and it is looking like there may be above normal rainfall. And going through the wet season is just going to be delayed. But we'll get the official report in October. So that's my report, and be happy to answer any questions.
Members, any questions? Okay, if not, thank you very much for the report, Barry. We'll move on now then to the next item for information, item number 4. This is the water main repair report for August 2022. Chair recognizes Mr. Jason Nikaido.
In August, we had 37 main breaks, which brings us to 71 total for the fiscal year, which is approximately average for compared to previous years. Okay, next page. Here's a list of all the main breaks for the month. Majority of them were on the small diameter pipes between 6 and 8 inches. Okay, next page. And for leak detection, we investigated 20 points of interest and found 40 leaks. So we have found 122 leaks to date, which is kind of tracking equivalent to previous years as well. That concludes my report. Are there any questions?
Members, any questions? Okay, if not, thank you very much for the report, Mr. Nikaido. That brings us to the end of our regular agenda. We have just a couple of items in executive session. May I have a motion to enter into executive session?
I still move.
Oh, I
Second.
Moved and seconded. And all of those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Okay, if not, we are, motion passes, and let's take a short recess before we go into executive session.